Behind the imposing figure of Hades, the feared god of the underworld, lies an untold story that reveals a surprising side of this enigmatic ruler. While the other gods delighted in the company of mortals and celebrated their passions, Hades, isolated in his shadowy realm, experienced loneliness in a way that few could understand. He, who had always been distant from emotions, made a decision that would forever alter the fate of Olympus: to abduct Persephone. But why would such a powerful god, known for his detachment, take such an action? Was it merely a whim, or was there something deeper, a search for companionship amidst the eternal darkness? This story invites you to explore the myth of Hades from a new perspective, where loneliness and the need for connection intertwine in unexpected ways. Persephone, the young goddess of spring, was endowed with a beauty that enchanted the gods of Olympus. Her presence radiated an almost untouchable purity, something that inspired admiration and, at times, veiled envy. Demeter, her mother, watched over her daughter with an almost obsessive care, aware of the dangers that Persephone's beauty could attract. In a world where beauty often became a currency or a cause for dispute, Demeter did everything possible to keep her daughter away from the intrigues of Aphrodite and the arrows of Eros. The relationship between mother and daughter was marked by intense protection, a type of love that bordered on the fear of loss. Persephone, in turn, grew isolated from the more dangerous influences, but this isolation did not prevent her from understanding the power her appearance wielded. However, it is interesting to note how Persephone herself, even surrounded by such caution, was not fully aware of the effect her beauty could have on powerful gods like Hades. She saw the world with the innocence of someone who never imagined that her beauty could be a disguised curse. This constant care of Demeter to protect Persephone from the passions of Olympus was not just a common maternal concern. It was a survival strategy. However, like all strategies, this one also had its flaws. As Persephone grew, the pressure to keep her isolated from love became more difficult. And it is at this point that the story begins to take an unexpected turn, setting the stage for the encounter with Hades, which would forever change the destiny of Persephone and the entire world of the gods. Hades, the imposing god of the underworld, had always been known for his coldness and detachment from the emotions that moved other gods. He lived in his shadowy realm, distant from the passions and loves that stirred Olympus. However, everything changed the moment Eros' arrow struck him. This arrow, laden with irresistible power, planted in his heart a burning desire for Persephone, an emotion he had never experienced before. What was once indifference transformed into a silent obsession, and Hades, without hesitation, decided that Persephone should be his companion. The love that grew within Hades was not ordinary. It was an intense and overwhelming force that led him to a bold decision: to abduct Persephone. Unlike the romantic gestures of other gods, Hades neither courted nor asked for permission. In a sudden and calculated act, he opened a chasm in the earth and took Persephone to his realm, the world of the dead. This abduction, as swift as the beat of a heart, marked the beginning of a new chapter in both their lives, a chapter that would forever change the balance between Olympus and the underworld. This impulsive act of Hades, driven by an unknown love, brought with it profound consequences. Persephone, torn from her life on the surface, now found herself facing a completely new reality, surrounded by the shadows of the underworld. At the same time, Hades' action aroused the wrath of Demeter, setting off a chain of events that would echo not only in the world of the gods, but also among mortals, who would soon feel the effects of this divine dispute. And so, the fate of Persephone becomes inextricably intertwined with that of Hades, bringing to light issues of power, love, and sacrifice. When Persephone disappeared, Demeter's pain was immeasurable. She, who had always been a devoted mother, saw her world crumble upon realizing that her daughter had been taken. The goddess of the harvest, who until then had kept the earth fertile and abundant, plunged into deep despair. Her sorrow was reflected in nature, and the land, once generous, became barren. The crops failed, the soil dried up, and the mortal world was engulfed by a devastating famine. Demeter's despair was not just a personal pain, but a lament that reverberated in all directions. This maternal pain led Demeter to neglect her divine responsibilities, something that deeply concerned the other gods. She wandered the world, disguised among mortals, tirelessly searching for her daughter, but to no avail. With each passing day, her anguish grew, and the harsh winter that dominated the earth seemed endless. The crisis that ensued was not only physical, but also spiritual. Mortals began to lose hope, and even Zeus, the king of the gods, felt the need to intervene in light of the magnitude of the crisis that had unfolded. Demeter's suffering made it clear to the gods that something had to be done. The harmony of Olympus was at risk, and life on Earth was no longer the same. Zeus, realizing that the situation could not continue, was forced to act. He sent Hermes, the messenger of the gods, to the underworld with the mission to negotiate with Hades. But what followed was not a simple resolution, for Persephone, during her stay in the underworld, had sealed a fate that would bind her forever to that dark place, setting the stage for a new phase in this story. While Persephone was in the underworld, Hades, with cunning, offered her pomegranate seeds, a fruit that, seemingly harmless, carried with it a mystical bond. By consuming the seeds, Persephone, perhaps unknowingly, sealed her fate. According to ancient laws, whoever ate the food of the underworld would be bound to it. Thus, the act of eating the seeds, whether out of curiosity or hunger, tied Persephone to Hades in an irrevocable way. From that moment on, she was destined to spend part of the year by his side, in the depths of the underworld. This pact, however, did not signify merely a defeat for Demeter or a victory for Hades. It represented a complex negotiation among the gods, mediated by Zeus, to restore order both in Olympus and on Earth. It was decided that Persephone would spend half of the year with Hades, in the underworld, and the other half with her mother, Demeter, on the surface. This arrangement symbolized the cycle of the seasons, where Persephone's descent into the underworld marked the beginning of winter, and her return brought spring, renewing life on Earth. This cycle became a profound representation of death and rebirth, both for gods and mortals. Thus, the myth of the pomegranate seeds not only explains the changes in the seasons, but also offers a reflection on choices and their impacts. Even seemingly simple acts like eating a few seeds can have profound repercussions. In life, decisions that appear small can tie us to destinies we never imagined. And so, the myth of Persephone leaves us with the understanding that the balance between light and darkness, life and death, is something that everyone, gods or mortals, must face at some point. Now that you have a deep understanding of the myth of Hades and Persephone, it's time to reflect on the choices that shape our destiny. Just like Persephone, our decisions, no matter how small they may seem, can have profound impacts on our lives. What would you do if you were in her place? And if you could choose, what would you change in your own journey? Think about it and don't be afraid to question traditions and seek your truth, just as Hades did when he challenged Olympus for what he desired. If you're ready to transform your life and explore more stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. There's much more to be discovered, and together, we can unravel the mysteries of mythology and apply them to our daily lives.